Howdy doody. Welcome to episode 282 of TDI. This is Dr. O on the horn to start per usual. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, my best friend, an Ouroboros aficionado and superfan, Ricky Flicks. How are you, my friend? We're back into the MCU. How excited are you to discuss Loki?
We're so back. We're back. Like we had a troublesome summer. Yes, like hand up MCU. We struggled. We might have hit a low, but we are so back. And who else is back? Jax. Jax is back on the Drive-In podcast. Snaps for Jax.
He is back. We are bringing Jax back. Yeah. I'm missing audio.
Oh, he's on mute. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, is that him?
Hello.
Yes.
We are back.
You can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, thank God. Jesus Christ. Okay. So we'll just act like none of that happened. Exactly. Very excited. Episode was great. Obviously, we'll get into it more so, but we're back. MCU. The panic button was out. It was on the desk, ready to be pressed, but I think we put it back in the drawer for right now.
It's great to hear from you, Jax, because these are much better circumstances, I think, than the last time we talked. And we were fortunate to have our MCU correspondent being introduced during Secret Invasion, but we didn't know it was going to be for such a lackluster season. And it made for some great content and some great episodes. But judging after this first episode, it seems like we're on to something good, right? It's a hot start, and we're back with a familiar show when it comes to MCU success with Loki. Before we get into it, boys, I think we got to do a little refresher on the first season because we've had a lot of bad taste in our mouths left from the MCU these past couple years, whether it be TV shows or film. But I want to know, judging from Loki and how it's usually praised as the most successful critical MCU show, how is it aged over time? So Jax, like your thoughts on Loki, like years later getting season 2, like what is the anticipation level at? What are your thoughts on season 1 and how they can actually up it?
So the expectations are high, right? I think you hit the nail right in the head. I think it's Loki and WandaVision. Those are, if you talk to really anybody, I feel like those are the top two. So they and again, the panic button is in the drawer, but it can come back out. They need to nail this because this is setting up everything. Like we're kind of bringing Kang back. We got a taste of him in the first season, and then we got Ant-Man, which we don't need to talk about. We won't talk about that, but
just the post credit.
Yes, exactly. That's all we need. But yeah, slowly we got to get back to a point where everyone's excited again about what's coming, Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty and all that.
Yeah, and that's what also you brought it up, the stakes for Loki season 1. That's where MCU fans started to realize the impact shows can have. And I think that's a part of the reason why like the shows following Loki have failed. They haven't really built off Loki too much and they felt inconsequential. So it's going to be really hard to like match that intensity, that high level stakes of the end of season 1 of Loki, Ricky Flex. Is it even possible to reach those heights?
I think it is. I think it is because you have a Secret Wars coming around, but you also have you have Kang Dynasty still involved here. So you still have big Avengers projects where Loki is at the core of it. Like we can't forget when season 1 came out. This was the introduction really to the multiverse saga. You know? So this was this is the start of it. And this was the excitement to this new phase, this new era of the MCU that we're going through here. Not only in films, but obviously in TV. So yes, the expectations are high. Obviously MCU's been in a rut. We've talked about it ad nauseum almost for the past couple of years. But after this first episode, it seems like we might be getting back on track here with the overall theme in this next phase, this next era of the MCU. And I cannot wait for the rest of the season, see how we I don't want to jump the gun here for 6 weeks later, but how we kind of wrap up and enter this next few years before Kang Dynasty in a couple years.
Yeah, and this is going to be massive, like you said, because we are getting Kang here. We're going on from He Who Remains. We're getting Victor Timely, and who knows what other variants of Kang in this series. And the reason why there's so much pressure on this series is not only because season one is the most successful MCU show we've ever had, but also we are moving and inching closer and closer to Kang Dynasty. And when's the next time we're going to see Jonathan Majors playing a variant of Kang or Kang the Conqueror, or whoever it may be? So I think that adds to the hype. And if I were to say how it can beat season one or match that intensity, it's more Jonathan Majors. And I don't think anyone would be clamoring for that like 5 or 6 months ago, but I think it's necessary for the show to be successful. After that tease, and I rewatched the finale of Loki season one today, and I'm like, man, like that moment, that reveal, the unexpectedness of having him there and then teasing the future, like you need to have more Jonathan Majors here just because this is the future big bad of the MCU. And we didn't get him here, unfortunately, but I still think we put together a pretty damn good episode, Jax, right? So any initial reactions you have after seeing season 2, episode 1?
Yeah. Super excited. I'm fired up. Flix and I were shooting texts back and forth, just saying we're back. MCU's back. Just a bunch of cool things in this episode. I think the time slipping, I think that's a really cool thing that they're doing. And I personally, when I first saw the trailers and everything like that, I thought he was in a different timeline. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. It's the same timeline. He's just going to the past and then at the end of the episode to the future. I think OB was great. Some comic relief. It's corny. It's Marvel. It's what they do. But yeah, overall, I think it's setting up for a really, really great season 2.
Yeah, I'm super high on this too, Jax. And I think it was a great way to intro season 2, picking up from season 1, but in a non-linear fashion. That was a wild, wild way to intro that he was actually 400 years in the past at the end of season 1. And that provides a lot of context. The memories being wiped by Kang the Conqueror with all these TVA workers. I thought that's an interesting dynamic. And then you get like some recordings of Kang in the past, like centuries ago, talking to Ravonna, right?
Renslayer.
Yeah, like him talking to her, and like that is a great teaser for future like potential team up between Victor Timely and Ravonna. And I agree with OB. Like I think Kiwi Kwan coming off of Everything Everywhere All at Once, everyone's wondering, okay, of course he's going to be cast in the MCU, but is it going to be in a fashion where it's more than just, oh, it's a name and he's going to like, it's just for like, I guess, an audience grab. But I think his quirkiness fits a Loki type of vibe very well. And that's one of the best parts about the show. It doesn't feel as, I guess, like copy and paste as other MCU projects. It's something very unique. And he's just a perfect fit, Ricky Flex. What do you think of the first episode here?
I loved it. I loved how we just jumped right in. And the first episode's like, all right, Mobius, you could die here. We already have stakes. Like, I love how we already have stakes. We're not trying to set anything up like we always talk about in all these season 1s, all these different Disney Plus shows, whether it's Marvel, whether it's Star Wars, whatever. No, there's no slowness to it, no build up. We're right back into it, and we're full throttle. And again, we're going to have a full Kang here. And I feel like that's the only part where, yes, like we kind of didn't have in this episode, but it still was looming over the episode the entire time, as you guys mentioned. So I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic episode. Best thing Marvel's done in a while. I was texting to Jack. I was like, this is the best thing since No Way Home. But I was like, oh, wait, Guardians came out this year. I did forget about that.
Sure.
But I did love this episode. My expectations are even higher now. Like, my expectations were high going into this. But I was like, you know what? Like MCU, we got Waldron, just an executive producer. He's not really the showrunner here. Heron, the director in the season 1, she's no longer here. Like Rick and Morty writers are involved still. Like we'll see. But I think in episode 1, speaking of the writers, I think that helps Kiwi Kwan because I thought he was fantastic. I like Jax, you mentioned corny. I thought it worked. I thought it worked for the tech guy. You know,
It worked.
usually I'm the guy that says like way too corny. I think for this character and Kiwi Kwan and just his, how he is, I think it was awesome. So overall, like not many negatives for me. And I know people that were just on the Ahsoka pod. I was the negative Nancy on that pod. Here I'm like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. I loved it.
That OB scene was the best scene of this first episode. As much as how crazy it was to find out that this was a time jump from the end of season 1 to the beginning of season 2, like having that OB scene where he gets the extractor and he used a lot of mumbo jumbo language that I really didn't have a problem with, honestly. Like people might get caught up and say this was confusing, yada yada yada. All you got to know is that we're trying to stop this time slipping. That's all you got to know. And then you just enjoy the fun of embracing a older Kiwi Kwan to a younger Kiwi Kwan, back to an older Kiwi Kwan. And you got the comedic relief of a Moby played by Owen Wilson, and then Loki, Tom Hiddleston, like in his element. I thought the editing of that scene was incredible too. It's the most fun I felt in a theater. It's not in a theater. It's the most fun I felt in the MCU since I was in the theater for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I don't know how long before that, maybe Loki season 1. That scene to me, it felt like, wow, this is what makes Loki Loki. And they embrace like the characters and like the actual like show maker, right? The show runners here and like the writing. To me, it was great. That was my favorite scene, Jax.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I did want to touch on, Doc, I don't know if you said it or Flick said it, the recording of Kang. That was my right there, because in the comics, right, Renslayer and Kang are together to an extent. And like that right there blew, like I was like, this is going to be the greatest show of all time. Right there, I was like, because he said like you're a Marvel like Ravonna and I was just like, this is it. I'm all set. Like I don't even play another episode. I'm good.
Wait. So just to follow up, so what in the comics here are between the two correspondent? I don't know.
Yes, so they are like a couple.
Like they're like more than a thing or a couple.
Like romantically a couple. Like Kang's in love with her. I'd have to go back and look 100%, but I know she was she was like royalty to an extent, and he was more of a common man. And so like she didn't want to be with him and this whole thing, but they are together in the comics.
Wow.
In different runs and variations. Yeah. So
it's a bomb.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, but like you get that vibe during season 1, and you always felt like Renslayer was hiding something. And even if her memory was wiped, she showed a loyalty to the Timekeepers in season 1, and she obviously betrays Moby, and she then like mysteriously walks out that door into a different time period, and she's gone, and we know she's going to make a comeback. That's some necessary context. I'm very excited to see what she's bringing to the table, probably going into episode 2, but to have that dynamic, because last time we saw He Who Remains, like he doesn't have anyone that he's close with. Right. He is a one-man show, literally at all times. So to have someone that is like close to him, that shows potential vulnerability like of this character, that's huge. A guy who hasn't really showed any softness thus far, a guy who's supremely cocky. I'm looking out for that in the future, Ricky Flex.
Yeah, I love that. That adds a whole new wrinkle to this. And I'm going to bring it up. The end of Quantum Mania, the post-credit scenes, mid-credit scenes and the post-credit scene. We're going to get Victor Timely's going to be involved here. Like, it's going to be very interesting to see now with this new wrinkle how it's going to intertwine with all, like, potentially a Victor Timely or a different Kang here in this series. My mind's been blown. I really am lost, because now if we're dealing with multiple Kangs here with a love interest, like I'm gonna get lost in my head. But I have faith that this group of writers here now, after seeing episode 1, there's a clear vision, and I think that they're gonna round this out and really dive into this character, which I think we all want to see after the finale of season 1.
Do you think it's going to be a long wait until we see Victor Timely? Do you think they're going to like wait until I don't know, episode 4, 5, or 6? Do you think there's potential we get him next episode? I think personally, like we waited so long in the first season and we didn't, it was such a surprise. I feel like you have to build off this momentum and show him earlier on. Like, do you think they're going to show Renslayer and her trying to track down Victor Timely? Like, what's going to happen here, Jax? Are we going to see Victor Timely sooner rather than later?
My prediction, my guess, episode 3.
Mm.
Episode 3, maybe at the end of that episode. I think that's when they're really going to start to kick it into gear, go back to that kind of time, again, from the trailers where I don't know exactly the date, but it's like 1800s or something.
1893.
It's like Chicago's World Fair or something,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
1893.
Yeah, I think that's
History
what,
guy.
because I think this first episode and then I think the second episode will kind of be like a continuation of that. Like the TVA is literally going crazy. The timeline is all over the place. Like I think we're gonna get more of that next episode, and then they're gonna kind of batten down the hatch and be like, we gotta find this dude. Like Moby's just gonna be like, we gotta go see who this is and like where he is.
I want to lean on you a little bit more, Jax, here in looking at Chicago World's Fair 1893. And this is where, like, obviously historical context, new inventions are being showcased like to the world. Like, do you have any context in the comic books of what's going to happen with Victor Timely here? Is there any like background that we can go off of?
So I'm to be 100% honest, I'm not extremely familiar with Victor Timely specifically. I do know something kind of aside from the fact, I do know at that time there was a notable serial killer, I believe, in that
Oh,
area.
yeah.
I saw like a rumor about that or something, and they were like, oh, they might tie that in. And I'd be like, that's crazy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like they're saying
Holmes, right? J.J. Holmes, I think his name is.
I believe so. And I saw something that it was like, no, it was actually like Miss Minutes and Kang or something. And I was like, this is nuts. I was like, but if we get that, like, kind of cool, kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what would happen in this situation with Victor Timely now.
H.H. Holmes, I think his name was. But I would assume like maybe some time travel type of machinery gets, like, I guess, introduced here. And maybe Victor Timely, is he like, and we know we have the history, like He Who Remains, like he talks about the history of like the Kangs, and he says like, okay, the first Nathaniel Richards is from like the 31st century. So, and knowing the background of Kang, is he going to go from like a period of the future, traveling back, and search himself into this timeline, potentially introduces like some machinery that's like telling to the rest of the world? Like, is that potentially on the table here?
Well, something that I saw from, if I'm remembering 100% correctly, from one of the trailers or from the post-credits scene in
Quantumania.
Quantumania, yes, thank you. What he's unveiling at that Chicago World Fair, whatever it may be, looks very similar to the device that is outside of the TVA, kind of controlling the timeline.
Ooh.
So that's something I kind of put together. I was like, interesting. I might be way off, but possibly something along those lines. Or it could just be something that looks very similar. It might be a time machine of sorts or whatever. But they, like, if you look it up, I'm pretty sure it looks kind of the same, just like a big device that kind of looks like things go through it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that that theory. I like
cooking
that we're
now.
teasing the
Like it.
trailer, and like Renslayer we saw in the trailer too, like in that timeline, with the Victor Timely late 19th century. And at this time, the beginning of this episode, the TVA is kind of reeling after the events of Kang, after He Who Remains. And I was kind of, this is where I felt the stakes were high, like right off the bat. And found it interesting that those that were working for the TVA, the Judge Gambles of the world, them kind of accepting that, yeah, this is probably true, right? What Loki is saying, but them just their inability to act. And it just felt like they are literally unsure of what the next step should be, because you have the head of the timekeeper in the middle of the table. Their whole life is a lie. They figure out that they have a life outside the TVA that they have no idea of. I think that was a great way to like set the table here. And what also makes this show so good And with the stakes being this high, it's only Loki, Moby, and B5, B15. Is it B5? 15?
15.
And just having those three basically taking on the world. That's where it's like, and it's not on Earth. That's where it gives a different type of feel. There's no heroes to support them. And that's why Loki is so good, right? It's kind of like these unknown type of characters that we have to like root for. It's a different flavor, Ricky Flex.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And again, like another thing we've been talking about superhero movies is that, oh, we always got to save the world. And yes, this is like to save the universe, but it's so unique where it's like related to time and like trying to save the sacred timeline or whatever the branches, trying to like have free will versus like all that, those different dimensions that are added to it. So yes, does it fall under the same trope? I guess it does, but it's so different that it doesn't. You know what I mean? So it works. And again, it goes back to what you were saying, Doc, and how they're approaching it with not really. I know Loki's a god, but still not really a superhero. Definitely, and like he's a super villain, I guess, but definitely not what you think of. Yeah, we was shaking it.
He's just a little guy.
Yeah.
So,
so it maybe falls under the umbrella, but definitely it's a wide umbrella.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking now, the first season was so focused on like finding out who he is, like this journey of self-discovery along like within this MCU adventure, like strong themes through that first season. Is this season just going to be kind of like a race to Sylvie and then a race to Victor Timely? Are we going to still get those type of, I guess, really prevalent themes that we saw in season 1? And that's also the question becomes, can it raise, right, the level of season 1? It seems like it's going to be very tough to do so.
Yeah. It's interesting because yes, I think it's right. Like there's going to be a race to Sylvie and like that battle with the TVA, with Lisa Aaron from Game of Thrones, that character leading that charge.
Oh my God.
Around whatever. But then you have afterwards probably the race to Victor Timely, whatever Kang that we're going to deal with here, probably in the back half of the season. So I agree with Jax there. We won't see a core Kang for a bit here. But I do think looking at last season to this season, a big thing of last season was about that free will. That do we just give it into the dictator because he kind of will control everything and make sure that we're okay, or do we rather have the free will? Here it's like Sylvie's gonna have her free will. She got her wish. She's gonna start experimenting with that. She's gonna try all the Big Macs and filet of fishes that she wants, and then Loki's gonna figure out, hey, maybe I should be the hero. Maybe I can be the hero here. So I think around those two themes for each of them is going to be really a driving force here between the two storylines of the race to Sylvie and Sylvie kind of like finding herself in that free will, and then the race to Victor Timely, Kang, and can Loki be the hero that he thinks he can never be?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of jumping from timelines. Like it's not gonna like it was pretty mobile last season too. I think we're gonna see more of the same here. And there was a post credit here, guys. And I know we're jumping around a lot. We might as well talk about it since Ricky Flex
just like the show.
Up. Yeah, no, we're jumping around. We're time slipping right now. We're time slipping all over the place, and that's fine, right? We love the chaos. We embrace the chaos. But having Sylvie basically going from the events of the end of season 1, where she stabs He Who Remains and then unleashes all these Kangs. And then she is in 1982 Oklahoma looking to order something without a face at a McDonald's. And that's where she is making her mark. And she's looking upon all of these people with their loved ones, living a normal life, something that she has always wanted. She wants the simple life, but little does she know, she has the TVA on her ass and then Loki trying to reunite with her. Jax, any thoughts on the post credit there with Sylvie?
Yeah, I think it's powerful, right? Like she just wants a normal life. She's been running her whole entire life through different timelines. Through this, she sees the normalcy, like you said, sees couple eating, sees family eating, like just hanging out, laughing, having a good time. She doesn't have that. She's never had that. So I think it's really cool. I think it's going to make it interesting when they go back and recruit her to an extent. I don't know if I want to say recruit, but Mobius and Loki are like, hey, Like, we kind of need you. And I feel like that's going to be a little bit of a power struggle, and her be like, I don't know, I'm kind of liking working at McDonald's and eating Big Macs all day and hanging out. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's interesting what they did with it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to transition from that. I like who's going to get to Sylvie first. Is it going to be Loki? And you might think that based on the teasers we've seen when Loki walks into McDonald's. And yeah, how do they get out of this timeline, right? Like that's what I'm curious about too. And like the technology they're going to use. And are they going to go straight to Victor Timely after this 1982 timeline? I feel like there is a lot of room for us to kind of just there's a lot of room for writers to just get creative here, take us to different places, and show why Loki is one of the most unique shows. But Ricky Flex, any other thoughts on that post-credit sequence?
Yeah, I think also just another thing is that she's only really seen like tragedy in her life, and even thinking about what she's when she's been on the run, she's been in these Nexus events when they're all like a volcano erupting and families dying and being separated. You know, like she's always been around negativity. So she's finally in a happy place. McDonald's, like, and obviously Marvel, Disney, they're welcoming this partnership and all these ads, right? So clearly there's some sort of connection there, but whatever, we'll pass on that. But all in all, like definitely, like she's definitely going to try to achieve some sort of happiness, and I think the key question will be how on earth is she going to get back with the TVA, or maybe not? Like maybe she decides like, no, I'm not going back with you, Loki. Like I did my mission. I killed him. You know, I killed the He Who Remains. Like I'm done. And then it's all about like, all right, how is she gonna like get back in the mix, but not maybe the TVA? I don't know. It's really something that's pretty hard to predict.
And I do got to bring up, guys, like the setting of the 1982 McDonald's is pretty cool. I like that. It's I think they captured the aesthetic really nicely. It's McDonald's before it's like how we view it now. It's kind of a shithole, you know. It's like it's just a place we go like at 1:30, 2 in the morning, right, on a Saturday night or a Friday night. Here it's like a family establishment. It's bright.
Try our new chicken McNuggets.
It's clean. And that, yeah, that like it that is great too. Just the birth of the McNugget. Are you kidding me? Right? We got Chicken Run 2 on the way. Dawn of the Nugget. So I like going with like the set design. That was awesome. And I thought OB's set design with his layer down there, his man cave, I thought it was amazing. It was amazing. And that's where this show feels unlike other MCU shows. It doesn't feel like a copy and paste. It feels like there's a lot of care put into the look, into the color, and even like the chaos that is OB's layer there. It feels almost like an antique shop. Like it doesn't have an age. It's like a bleak type of color, but also vibrant at the same time. It's very hard to describe. It's like a teal on the wall that feels faded. It just feels like something that is only existing in the TVA. It is timeless in that regard. And that's why this show is special. This show is good. There's more care put into this show with the writing, the set design, the performances. It's class. It's all class.
Class. It's also like a mailroom too. It's
Yeah.
also like a mailroom, which is cool.
Yeah, it is like a mailroom, but it's a one-man mailroom. There's just less chaos with actual people in it. And he's been down there for basically by himself for centuries.
300-400 years.
400 years.
Yeah. And do you guys think we're going to see more OB? Do you think this is a one episode cameo, or is it like he's going to be
He'll be
featured episode after episode, or is he
He'll
going
be
to come back in the eighth one? Like what do we think?
6. There's 6 episodes, right?
Oh, what did I say? 8, 6.
I believe it's 6. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 6, just like last season. He's definitely coming back.
Yeah, right. I think he has to. I think there's going to be another thing, another invention, another problem that he is going to have to solve at some point. 100%.
Yeah, and I could see him like confronting maybe the panel there, the judges, like the higher ups, because he is like literally it's a story of an underdog, someone who's living low as can be, and now is like a part of like the highest stakes possible, right? I think we could see a really cool written character, so like sub character with Ki-Wai Kwan here. So I mean, he just brought it in this episode. I think he didn't save it, but he definitely elevated the episode, and it felt like he was a necessary comedic relief in an episode that it felt like it was rolling and rolling until that moment. And then they said, stop, let's take a break. Let's take a breath. Let's laugh a little bit. Let's do these amazing cuts. And we'll go back and forth with these actors and these performances. And then it's like, okay, now we're back. We have controlled chaos. We've escaped, right, the chaos of the TVA following Kang. And now we go. You know, do you guys get that same type of feeling?
Yeah, that you nailed it.
Yeah, because before that, right, it's like you said, it's all chaos. It's Loki stumbling over words, being like, this guy's terrifying. Like, we need to do something. We need to figure something out. And then they're trying to figure out his time slipping and all this. And it's like, what is going on? And then you get there. It's like a nice clean slate.
Yeah, we start understanding some things, and through a unique way, you know, through the editing process of the Mobius, and then 400 years earlier with Loki and with Obi, of course. So like, it's definitely changed the pace of the rest of the episode, and because it was in the middle of the episode, changed the pace again from the negativity as well, and the chaos, and also not just chaos within the show, but also to us who were like, what's going on? Like, is Loki? Like, where is he? Like, is he? We didn't know, like, at the time, it was 400 years in the past exactly. Like, we were pretty sure, and all these other things that were happening. So, like, it was very good, like, moment just to calm things down.
Yeah, it added context. Like, it set the stage through the comedic relief. That's good writing. That's good writing, right? It's not just telling, you know, it's like doing it in a very entertaining fashion. You know, Loki operating on a different level than most of these MCU shows. I also want to say these judges, like, first of all, like, this room, it's Judge Gamble and company, it's empty, or they're like, I don't know if that guy was dead or he was just like had a heart attack and he can't believe what is happening to the TVA. I was very confused about that guy just slumped, right, with at a 90-degree angle the entire time. Didn't say a single word.
This was definitely the weak point of the episode. If we like had a nitpick, it was this table, because you have a guy sleeping when the whole universe and what you're responsible for is under pressure. You're sleeping. Made no sense. Not funny. And I would say, like, these judges, where were they in season 1? Like, where were they? We had the 3 timekeepers or whatever that obviously were not real. But so we had a middleman this entire time between that and Rustler. Like, it made no sense. It was kind of just like, why are we doing this? It just seems like we just needed another storyline, another complication to be added to season 2 for Sylvie, for Loki and Mobius and B-15. That seems like, for me, that was like the only reason why they're here, just to kind of add something to fill the rest of the episode out. So for me, that was the only nitpick I had from this entire episode.
Yeah, it was kind of a way to introduce that girl from Game of Thrones, saying like she's going to be like a sub-villain in this.
And right when she sees Sansa and Lord Baelish kissing, then she's gonna have a heart attack.
Oh my God! Oh, let's not do this. Okay. As we can
see, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go.
But the scene where he prunes the wall.
Oh yeah,
saved it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Right when I think I'm out, they pull me right back in. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, and like that definitely saved that scene, but also like the care for like the clues that are laid down, like even the crack on the floor right after like the lamp or whatever it is, the ball drops from the ceiling, cracks. That's how he knows he's back in time. It's almost a detective feel to it, you know. And it's like, oh, we're like on this journey with Loki. Like, I recognize that too, right? Great call. Let's keep on moving here. Like that type of stuff makes this show fun to watch with the time travel aspect. Okay. I think I want to go to bold predictions now, right? Because we usually, before an MCU project, do a few 10 bold predictions regarding an upcoming series, movie. Do you guys have anything that not only happens maybe in the next episode, but maybe like throughout this season or even into the finale? Anything that like crosses your mind, Ricky Flex?
Bold? No. God, I'm usually the hot take guy too. Come back to me. I'll keep thinking. I have predictions, but nothing bold yet. I guess like the only one I would have is I think we don't see Jonathan Majors till like episode 4 at the earliest, end of 4 into 5. So like not seeing him in the first 3 episodes, particularly 4. Really, he would come in at the end of 4. That's the only one I could really say that's kind of bold right now. But I'll keep thinking as you guys go around.
I'm with Jax. I think it's episode 3. Like I think it's going to be us in 1982 Oklahoma. At the end of this episode, at the end of the next episode, they're going to go to 1893 Chicago, and then we're going to get the presentation from Victor Timely. I think that's how we're kind of lining up. I would love a different timeline for each episode. I think that would make to keep it fresh and keep audience on their toes, and also just show that the effort that's going into the design of this show. I'm all in on episode 3, seeing Victor Timely. What do you think, Jax?
Bold prediction. So not too bold. I don't think this is crazy bold. We will see the Council of Kings again in this show. I think that's a lock in my opinion. And I need it. Give me a Mortis. Give me all the variants. I want to meet them all. I think we're also gonna get some answers possibly. So remember in season 1 in the Void, where there was a bunch of kind of things. It was just like, oh, that's it looks like the Avengers Tower, and it said Kang on it. It said Queng or Queng, which is another variant of Kang. I think we're going to get some answers to that as well.
I was going to say, as a bold prediction, we're going to see more than Victor Timely as a variant of Kang. 100%. We cannot just have this nearly black and white version of Kang, throughout this season.
I think his name is Mr. Gryphon, who is the variant of Kang. He's like a businessman, and I think he's going to tie in with, again, the Avengers Tower. It might not be that. I could be completely wrong, but this is a hot take. I think he's going to tie it with that building somehow.
Yeah, and we talk about jumping different timelines, different Kangs. We can easily have that scenario. There might be one in the 1982 timeline that Sylvie's in. There could be a Kang there that we don't know about. I don't think we're going to see a variant from that one, but I 100% could see this businessman type of Queng, Mr. Rifkin type of character. I'm all in on that. I want to see what makes Kang such an interesting character is he takes so many different forms. Let's embrace that. That's what we've been teased all these years. And we talk about progressing the MCU, moving it towards what we're going to see in the future. Show me all the Kangs.
And Loki has a connection to the Avengers, the New York. So
I didn't even think of that though.
So I think we got a bold prediction, boys.
I like it. I like it. I also agree with the multiple Kangs, by the way. I think that's a lock. I think that's definitely a lock, because if you look at just the slate of just MCU stuff for multiverse projects, next year we'd have none, Thunderbolts and Captain America. The following year you have just Deadpool and then maybe Blade. And then you have Kang Dynasty the next year. So you kind of have to mix it up right here. You kind of have to mix it up with the Kangs before Kang Dynasty. So I think it's a lock, not just bold prediction, a lock that we see multiple Kangs.
I was also thinking, as we wrap up here, a big part of the end of season 1 of Loki, everyone tried to theorize how this is going to play a role in the future of the MCU. Okay. And it honestly hasn't played as big of a role as I imagined it was going to. I thought every project would be severely impacted by this moment, but I don't think the MCU has really taken advantage of that. It's been feeling a little bit disconnected as of late. And I think that's going to end with a strong connection to either Deadpool 3 or obviously Kang Dynasty in the future. But I think Deadpool 3, that multiverse story that is rumored to be occurring, I think Ricky Flicks and I have talked about it. Jax, I don't think you've been on when we've discussed it, but appearing in Deadpool 3 is Matthew McFadden from Succession. So I am hoping that by the end of this season, we get a tease into Deadpool 3 with an appearance by Matthew McFadden, who's supposedly playing some type of TVA agent. I think there should be some type of connection there. And I think that is, once again, building up anticipation for the next project, getting back to the old MCU, and then not only just saying the concept that's going to carry over, but a literal character that you're going to see in the near future. I think that would be very smart for them to do.
100%. Yeah. And going off of that as well too, kind of right, because I think you're right. The only other story that we know for a fact moving forward is kind of Deadpool 3. The next one, I guess you could say, that we know. It's about multiverse. It's about the multiverse. It's about they're bringing X-Men from everywhere, whatever. But I think this is going to be the start, because eventually they have to do it where all hell breaks loose, and it's just incursion after incursion after incursion. I think at the end of this season, we're going to really start seeing that, and that's going to pick up in the upcoming projects.
And I'll just mention, I didn't mention one project that's kind of big. It's the Fantastic Four, 2025.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
After Deadpool, or no? I think they pushed Deadpool back. So
I think they pushed
2025
Deadpool back, but
Yeah.
I think it's the same year now.
oh,
Both
yeah.
2025, and
What
I
a
think
year.
Fantastic Four is after. But
What a
that
year.
it's very fluid. But that's
People
also
people are talking about Fantastic Four, 1960 setting, but
That's-
not in the same timeline. Oh, sorry, I just steal your thunder. But not set
it's
in the
all
same
good. Someone had
timeline.
to say it. That's all.
Not set in the same timeline as the MCU. Sorry, Ricky Flex. There was just I had to get it out. It was like volcano about to erupt out of my mouth. I'm very excited for that story.
No. That's what I was gonna say. So you have that, and then I'll follow up with the Matthew McFadden thing. I think what matters is when he was casted as this TVA agent, because if he was casted more recently, then he can't be in the show because this show finished production over a year and a half ago. So, unless this was a secret casting a while ago, I don't know where they would fit him. Or hey, like they're saying, hey, like they added some stuff post production, and they're just lying when they're promoting. I don't know. But again, I like the prediction.
They could be a little surprising with the casting, like they were for Jonathan Majors at the end of season 1 of Loki. I think that would be a nice a trope of the Loki series. And as we wrap, guys, I know I've said it twice now, but do you think, because we know we're building towards Kang Dynasty, is Loki going to end up losing again at the end of this season? Is that's inherent to the character, right? Like to the Lokis overall, like they just lose. Is he going to lose again to Kang?
I think there's no possible world where he doesn't lose. I think it's a lot. I think they need to continue advancing the story about Kang, because if I don't know. I'm curious to see where Loki specifically ends up at the end of the season.
Ooh,
but
that's a good one too.
Yeah, does he reunite with Thor? Is he back in the 616?
The rumors are starting up again.
Yeah,
the rumor mill is hot with the Loki Thor reunion.
Oh yeah,
Thor 5 on the way. Maybe there's a tie into Thor 5. I don't. Who knows? It feels weird that Loki would go 2 straight projects without Chris Hemsworth appearing.
Yeah,
I get it. He was in, I think it was episode 5 of season 1 of Loki when he was in the jar bouncing around trying to grab Mjolnir. But it feels like it'd be sacrilegious if those two don't find each other again.
Yeah, 100%. I think they have to, right? I think it's going to be a very emotional moment.
If Hemsworth's going to be Thor for the long haul,
bro,
you got to somehow do it again. I'm not going to say it's getting old because it hasn't yet, and they're so good together. It'll be interesting to see this time around if they ever do kill Loki again. Then would that be the last time? I think it would have to be. We'll give him one more chance. And again, I think we're also saying this because we're going back to this because we know it works versus a lot of stuff that the MCU has done lately has not worked. So the fact that we're even saying this is kind of saying where the MCU is.
Thor and Loki, Thor 5. Let's just put them on a buddy adventure story together.
Another buddy adventure.
Yeah, come on, for nostalgia's sake, let's just pull a little Deadpool and Logan here. Let's do the same thing with these two. We're clamoring for it, and I think MCU has realized Loki is a sufficient enough character for audiences, and it's crazy after season 1 that we're okay, I can't wait. Out of all these projects they've had with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we got Avengers that are getting projects, and the ones we can't wait to see are with Loki. And this is, it's 2023. Avengers, right? Marvel's The Avengers came out literally 11 years ago, and we are looking at solo Loki projects. It's crazy how this character has kind of exploded. He was always popular, but then to him reach this level where fans are that's their most anticipated project. That is a crazy journey it's gone on. Okay. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up, boys?
going to be the best show, but best season of any show Marvel has put out by the end of this.
Wow. Do you think this is going to top season 1?
100%. Yeah, I'm bought in. I'm all in.
I rewatched episodes 5 and 6 of season 1, and it's still very good. It's aged well. I will say, like, it did feel different versus when you first watched it. It does. Like, it had all the momentum, the Richard E. Grant scene in episode 5, and then the carry over to 6 with the introduction of Kang. That, obviously, Jonathan Majors, unbelievable actor. But again, like, that had a lot of momentum. I feel like it was a lot better with that. Here, it's like, I just feel like we have such a hot start, and there's so many things with stakes. And we have a lot of room to run, sprint, versus last season, we were just kind of figuring stuff out and we were on a journey. I feel like here it's just like we're on a straight sprint. And I think that I'm with Jax. I think this will be, I guess, another bold prediction, even though, like, we're only comparing it really to WandaVision and Loki season 1.
Okay. I don't know if I'm ready for that, boys. Like, I don't know. I watched episode 5 and 6 as well. Rewatching episode 5, I'm like, wow, this is like, it's great performances. Richard E. Grant, amazing, but also, like, it's a deep episode. Like, when, like, the identity of who Loki is through all these different characters, it just seems like it was a lot more care for those characters taken in the writing compared to most other MCU projects. See where it goes here. Certainly off to a great start. More OB, please. That's what we asked for. Let's wrap there. We're gonna have our Loki episode reactions dropping on Fridays, and we're going to have Jax, right? Jax is our guy, our MCU correspondent. Jax, thank you for joining us for this
Thank
recording.
you for having me, guys.
Yes. Snaps.
Thank you. Snaps.
Yes. Now our guy. Okay. So this Monday, what do we got, Ricky Flex? Remind me.
Check up. Nothing new coming out this weekend. Slow weekend. But we had some news that came out. Particularly, we're thinking Priscilla. We will be talking about it and others. But again, usually Mondays are the review episode. But because we're doing Loki's now, we're usually going to do checkup during Wednesday, review on Monday. But because we've had so much this week and we haven't done a checkup, we'll do it Monday. So Monday, checkup, and then stay tuned for the rest of the week.
Okay, Monday checkup. And guys, quick brain blast. Did you guys know jet skis was a brand?
No,
that was a mind blowing thing too. Yeah,
that was wild when he was like, "Oh no, it's just like Kleenex." I'm like, "No way!" Like, give me. I don't know what are jet ski brands aside from jet skis. What are they called? What's the actual device called?
Yeah,
jet ski is the brand name of a personal watercraft manufactured by Kawasaki, a Japanese company.
Personal watercraft? Is that what it actually is? That's what we
PWC. Yeah.
Let's take a ride in this personal watercraft.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
I think they nailed it with the jet ski. I wrote that down on a note. I'm like, did anyone else know that? That's a thing? That's wild. Okay. Make sure you're following us on socials, Twitter, Instagram, at The Driving Pod. If you're watching on YouTube, we are at TDI Podcast. Make sure you capitalize TDI and lowercase podcast. 3 to 5 videos a week. Make sure you're staying locked in. Check out our Ahsoka reactions featuring another correspondent, right? Johnny Sims. All right. We got guests up the wazoo on the drive-in. So that's going to do it for episode 282. Until next time, we will smell ya.